Roman violence compared to the barbarians' mercy. This is from The City of God by St. Augustine of Hippo, Volume 1, Book 1, Arguments 5, 6, and 7. So to begin with, the fifth argument is Caesar's statement regarding the universal custom of an enemy when sacking a city. Augustine gives an account of Rome's violence towards other peoples and nations, sacking their cities, and contrasts it to Rome's own sacking. Even Caesar himself gives us positive testimony regarding this custom, for in his deliverance in the Senate about the conspirators, he says, according to the historian Sallust, that virgins and boys are violated, children torn from the embrace of their parents, matrons subjected to whatever should be the pleasure of the conquerors, temples and houses plundered, slaughter and burning rife, in fine, all things filled with arms, corpses, blood, and wailing. The Roman pagans sacked the cities of other tribes and nations, and in their conquests no mercy was shown. The weak and vulnerable became violated and subjected and sold into slavery. Now in Augustine's time, with the fall of the Western Roman Empire, why would the Romans expect anything different when what they used to do is happening to them? At least the barbarians were showing mercy, a Christian virtue, to those who fled in the sanctuaries and churches, something that the Romans did not do when they were mighty and in power. Argument 6. That not even the Romans, when they took cities, spared the conquered in their temples. Let us look at the practice of the Romans themselves. Let us, I say, recall and review the Romans whose chief praise it has been to spare the vanquished and subdue the proud, and that they preferred rather to forgive than to revenge an injury. In reference to the historian Sallust, Augustine examines whether the Romans ever spared the innocent in war. Marcus Marcellus, a distinguished Roman who took Syracuse, a most splendidly adorned city, he took steps also to preserve the chastity even of his enemies, for before he gave orders for the storming of the city, he issued an edict forbidding the violation of any free person. Yet the city was sacked according to the custom of war, nor do we anywhere read that even by so chaste and gentle a commander, orders were given that no one should be injured who fled to this or that temple. In war, the Romans did as they pleased, even despite the orders of protecting innocent civilians. That is because those who fight in war operate with the major objective of victory at all costs. Civilian casualties and the destruction of cultural, artistic, and religious heritage are just collateral damage wrought by the raiding army. It becomes almost like a free-for-all, an adrenaline-fueled bloodlust that leads to the shedding of innocent blood. Argument 7. That the cruelties which occurred in the sack of Rome were in accordance with the custom of war, whereas the acts of clemency resulted from the influence of Christ's name. Or the spoiling then which Rome was exposed to in the recent calamity, or the slaughter, plundering, burning, and misery, was the result of the custom of war. But what was novel was that the savage barbarians showed themselves in so gentle a guise that the largest churches were chosen and set apart for the purpose of being filled with the people to whom quarter was given, and that in them none was slain, from them none forcibly dragged, that into them many were led by their relenting enemies to be set at liberty, and that from them none were led into slavery by merciless foes. The idea of mercy is uniquely Christian, to which the barbarians showed, not by themselves in their pillaging mindset, but through God's providence. Being something new in the history of the world, the barbarians gave mercy despite their conquest, as this originated out of their respect for the Christian faith, a faith that is not centrally bound to any one culture nor any one ethnicity, because it is the universal faith, so that all may believe and be saved. The Christian faith, however, does change the culture that embraces it, turning it to be more founded on Christian love and virtue, even if it has only the slightest or minimal effects on the nominal cultural Christian. Goths and Visigoths, Germans and Huns, and various other barbarians which were considered to dwell on the hinterland beyond the civilized world would eventually, over the course of centuries, even a millennium, turn from heathen tribes to Christian nations, converted from the bottom up and top down. Though the fall of Rome was a tragedy in the world stage, it was not the first nor the last, but the conversion of all Europa and eventually of the world is a testament to Christ and his gospel message being spread beyond the mere acts of man. Their fierce and bloody minds were awed and bridled, and marvelously tempered by him who so long before said by his prophet, I will visit their transgression with the rod and their iniquities with stripes. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from them. Augustine of Hippo references Psalms 89. Verse 32, and first introduces that the progression of history is not just of secular changes and warring nations, but also it is the result of the divine hand of providence who guides glory to some and punishes others. The story of brother against brother and nation against nation are found in the verses of scripture and tell us the history of humanity. God gives some the victory and others defeat. He rewards some with land, wealth, and fame, and countless others receive nothing or lose their lives as a result. Augustine refocuses our perspective to consider the hand of divine providence as a lesson to the mighty nations of their hubris, and rewards the humble and lesser peoples with rewards, some with lands and kingdoms like the Israelites in Canaan, and some with the glories of Rome like the barbarians. Remember God's big picture, not just the individual interactions and follies of men. So ultimately, this sums up my summary of Argument 5, 6, and 7, and the main point comparing Roman violence to barbarian mercy. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and watch my other videos on the City of God. Thank you. Bye-bye.